Whenever the devil harasses you thus, seek the company of men, or drink more, or joke and talk nonsense, or do some other merry thing. Sometimes we must drink more, sport, recreate ourselves, aye, and even sin a little to spite the devil, so that we leave him no place for troubling our consciences with trifles. We are conquered if we try too conscientiously not to sin at all. So when the devil says to you, "Do not drink," answer him, "I will drink and right freely, just because you tell me not to." Martin Luther.
So Colton and Nolan were over to watch the race on Sunday, and I saved that last West Coast Lager by Fieldwork.
Yeah.
So Ted was getting up to go to get a beer, and I said, "There's a can out there. There's one left. It looks like a Thrasher logo. You got to drink that." And he didn't give the look like, okay. He was like, "All right." So he comes back in, and he's like, "What's going on?" We're just like, "Just want your opinion on this." So takes a drink. He's like, "Yeah, no, that's just a straight up session IPA. What the hell is a West Coast lager?" He's like, "It's tasty, but what is this West Coast lager thing? This is made up."
I disagree. I don't think it tastes like a session. Sessions don't taste like lagers. They don't have the back flavor of a lager. You get a huge back fill of grapefruit to make up for whatever. They're light.
Usually.
Like, they're lighter, but it's not. But that one has the back flavor of like a Coors Light or a
I guess so.
I would say so.
I need to get more of that.
That would be my argument.
We take that down to Kuya and get the opinion.
Like, I'd be like, I'd have no problem giving him any session IPA and just being like, "Here, try these. Like, think of even your favorite one, your best one, whatever. If you want to do Lagunitas, you want to do
Founders all day.
Founders, whatever." I was like,
Easy Jack.
Easy Jack. I was like, give that. And they have a certain flavor that comes on the back end, and just be like, "Okay, now try this one with it." And then you'd be like, "Oh yeah, no, I understand what he's talking about on the front end, but the back end, the reason why I don't like sessions is because the back end hits a kind of twingy grapefruit note."
Yeah.
But that one tastes like a lager on the back end. So I don't know. That's what I would say. But yeah, I get where he's coming from too. It was befuddling Nolan over there while he drank it too. So it's just, in my opinion, what they did with that beer, as far as I know, is they just made a lager and then they just dry hopped the shit.
Yeah, they just,
that's all they did. They just were like, "Yeah, we're gonna throw in all these." So I don't think it tasted bad. I have no problem.
Oh no. He enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Nolan enjoyed it. It was fun watching.
But some people are like, "Don't mix my thing with this."
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, all right, that's fine.
And then Nolan's dad he was up in Sacramento. So he stopped at Dust Bowl and got us a 4-pack of the Last Minute Imperial IPA from Dust Bowl. It was fantastic.
Dude, that was good.
It was like typical Dust Bowl where it drinks it like it was what? It wasn't.
So I drank that
8.5.
84%.
It was it was 8.5%, but it drank like 6.2.
I mean, it drank like almost 10 for me, but I also had no food, no water earlier in the day.
Tim says, wait a minute. Tim just said it drank like he's like, typical Dust Bowl drinks like it's 6.2. No. There are some, like, Dump Truck of the Gods is a fucking cocktail. Like
that's a much higher IPA, isn't it?
Taste the alcohol in this motherfucker.
Here it is.
Like,
that one's a mega.
Yeah, it's a mega. But I'm just saying, like, I don't know. Some of these are like, "Oh yeah, it drinks like." I don't remember that.
Yeah, it definitely drank like a 10 for me because I had that one. I was like,
it didn't. To me, it didn't drink
toasty.
like an Imperial IPA.
No, it's fine.
So I guess in that sense, it's not yes, I take your point. I said it was a typical Dust Bowl. I guess I meant typical Dust Bowl, and it's apparently required not.
I think it's atypical Dust Bowl. It's under 9.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's another one called Day Ender. I don't think I've had that one either.
Yeah.
If I'm sure I probably haven't, because every time the last couple of times we've been through there, I'm driving. I'm like, nope, that'd be really good, but I'm not touching it.
That's what Elijah had as his.
Oh, that's right. And then there's
and you're
one
only able
called.
to order one per customer, right? Or no?
I think so.
Yeah.
And then there's a new one. There's a new one called the New One IPA, and it's at 7%. So, they're going down.
Wow.
They're going for quantity over.
Brett must have listened to you.
Right.
Yeah. I did complain to the owner. What's with all the high IPAs, high alcohol? And they have a Tomorrow's Never Clear tropical version. Those can go either way for me. Sometimes
Tomorrow's
they're good, and
Never
sometimes
Clear?
they're like, huh?
Tomorrow's never clear? Because they have a Tomorrow's Clear and then Tomorrow's Never Clear.
Sorry, Tomorrow's Clear. Tomorrow's Clear tropical IPA.
I like Tomorrow's Clear.
I think that's one of the few New Zealands that you and I both like.
Is it New Zealand?
I think
don't know
so.
if it
Pretty
is.
sure it is.
But yeah, that one's good. Well, they changed the recipe a couple of years ago, and it wasn't as good. Kind of tasted like there was like an artificial orange kind of flavor that was kind of put into it. But
And now they have a taco truck mango. I can only
they
guess
had-
how
they had
mango
when
that
we were-
is.
They
Do
had that when we were there.
Oof.
I thought about. I was trying to convince Elijah to try that one. But I like mango, so. But if it tastes like mango cart, I want nothing to do with it. If it was like a hint of unsweetened mango flavoring, I'd be like, all right, this is good.
Peach Lemon Haze. I think they must have had that up there. I don't remember seeing that either. Peach Lemon Haze IPA, hazy IPA. Oh, probably because I was just ignoring anything
So they
that
made
was
peach,
hazy.
love, and haze into a peach one,
Yeah,
peach flavored.
6.3%. Anyway,
Well, that's fun.
so how are you? How you doing?
I'm tired.
Yeah, how was your weekend?
It was great.
You had an eventful weekend.
Yeah, I'll give you the rundown as best as I can. We left early Thursday. So for those of you that are listening and you're like, how is this guy taking off from the school year? Just so you know, I haven't taken a sick day all year. It was intentional. I knew that we were going on this trip and I was like, all right, we had started planning this in September and I was like, all right, I'm just not going to take a sick day all year. And that way nobody can bitch about it when I go. And so the plan was, and then in January, I put in for my time. So they couldn't bitch about the time that I took off. And some of you are like, are you not allowed to? Teachers, one of the nice part about being a teacher is that you do get your summers, you get your spring breaks, you get your winter vacations, but it's expected that that's where you take vacation. You're not really allowed to take vacation outside of that. Even they make exceptions, and even then those are kind of like hush-hush kind of exceptions for things like graduations, which mine was graduation, honeymoons, weddings, that kind of stuff. But it's kind of expected that you're supposed to be there. You can get away with a 3-day weekend here or there, but I was taking a 5-day weekend for this trip. So I didn't take off, so I took off all the time. So I took off Thursday, Friday, and I took off Monday. So we left Thursday morning, got to Disney around noon. We stayed in the Grand California, never done that before. That was a blast, mainly because I didn't have to walk that far to get to the parks. My parents have always been the type that's like, yeah, we don't get a tram, but they still get a hotel that's a mile away. And so that adds an extra 2 miles to your, and that's it. If you don't go back to the hotel to like take a nap or something. So like it's an extra bit of walking.
We did that the last time I went. And I think, were you there? No, you were not there. That was
No, I
with
don't think
Christina's, that was with, first time Kaylin went. And yeah, the first night we were there, it was like 7:00 and we were sitting down to eat. And I think I'd just gotten over a cold or something. So I did not feel well. And we're sitting at the table and there's a 5-year-old or something. So I'm figuring it's 7:00. We're done.
Yeah.
And I start hearing chatter of like, we're going to go for another couple hours. And like, what? And like, oh yeah, she can just sleep in between the rides. We're going to keep going. I was like, see you at the hotel.
Sayonara.
Sayonara. I'll see you at the hotel. And I won't see you tomorrow because I'll be at Ballast Point all day. So good luck. And I walked, I don't know, it was like 4 blocks probably. It was 4 long, like full city blocks to a Hampton Inns or something that was nearby. But it wasn't, I mean, if you're staying there for the week, it's totally worth saving the money for staying at the Grand Hotel.
Yeah.
That's like going on a week-long cruise with that price, but it's cool you got to do it though.
No. Yeah. Well, and I mean like, yeah. So
I mean, I would love to do it one time. We're like, all right, we're gonna go all out, so we're
Well,
just
and that's-
right here.
And that's what we did. We were like, so like that last September, we were like, all right, we're going to budget. And so we budgeted, and every month it was like, all right, this is what we're doing. Like, we're putting aside money, putting aside money. And I think we did it every single month except for December, just because, Christmas presents and all that kind of stuff. So, and we made it through, and we got to have a great experience where we paid cash for everything. So it was awesome. But again, that's 8 months of saving. So it was something that we intended to do. And so for some of you, you're like, that's not worth it for a 5-day vacation. And I get that. But it's all just kind of depends on you and what you prefer. So
I'm trying to sip it slow because we got like a quarter inch of sediment
worse.
at the bottom.
That's worse than what you keep going. That's not drinkable. That's just mean.
So
for everybody curious, I got the fortunate or unfortunate, depending on how you look at it, Evil Twin Brewing out of New York City, their IPA that last week we were talking about and couldn't remember. And it was just the one that looks like a small beer midget came in and just came all in it.
all in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all just flurries upon flurries. It's drinking a milkshake.
Real good, nice and citrusy.
Yeah, the flavor's good.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all, but I don't really like drinks to come edible.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like you said earlier before we started recording, orange juice with pulp in it, not bad.
Yeah.
That's
At least I know it's coming, like
yeah.
Like there's a comedian that there's a British comedian that talks about pulp in orange juice, and he's like, why the hell would you put pulp in orange juice? I don't know. I feel like I've always just grown up with pulp and orange juice, so I just expect orange juice to have pulp as opposed to not have it. But apparently there are some people that have drank concentrate their entire life, and so they don't know what it's like to drink actual fresh squeezed orange juice. So not that, that's a problem, but
it's still rough. I got a lot more of it than I thought.
I got the chunky stuff at least.
Yeah, the real chunky stuff is gone.
Yeah, so we get there at noon on Thursday, and there's a funny story with it. So Audrey goes and gets a massage. So this was all part of it. She's going to go do this whole spa thing. So she's going to go get a massage. She's going to go get her nails done, whatever. And we've got dinner plans that night at the Napa Rose, which is like the nicest restaurant in the area. And we'll get to that in a minute. But all right, so what is Colton going to do? Well, Reese didn't really take a nap in the car. So we go and we take a nap for 2 hours. And then I was like, all right, let's hit the pool. And my grandparents are there because it's my graduation. So they're in town, and they've been there since Wednesday because they accidentally thought I was going to graduate on a Thursday for some reason. Anyways, so they're there from Wednesday to Friday to Sunday. And so they show up and they're like, hey, we want to see you guys. And we're like, cool. We're going to go down to the pool. Would you like to join us? And they're like, absolutely. So we go down to the pool, and I'm swimming with Reese. We're swimming. And my grandpa is not exactly the greatest. He does what grandpas do, lives vicariously through his grandchildren or his great-grandchildren. And he's like, okay, there's water slides here. And I was like, yeah, I saw him. And he's like, no, you got to get her on a water slide. So we take her over to the little water slide, and she's going she's got her little floaty life vest, and she's having a blast. She's loving it. And he's like, all right, one time she's got to go down the big one. And I was like, I don't know. They're probably going to say no. There's no way. Reese can't swim. She can't swim. She's in her flotation. She barely can be let go. I'm like, this can't work.
Is she heavy enough to go down by herself?
She scoots, and yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, if there's some propulsion to these water slides. And I was like, I don't know. So I go and I was like, all right, I'll bite. So this is a bad parenting moment, by the way. So I go and I take her all the way up. We go up 80 stairs to the top of this water.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Water slide.
You should have made a pact with your grandfather that said all the liabilities on you.
Oh my gosh. So, and Reese is just whatever. She's like, yeah, slide. She's completely indifferent. And they're like, hey, and I was expecting them to be like, you can't, she's too small. And I would have going to be like, oh, that's okay. Pick her up and go back down, and we go down the smallest slide. And they're just like, yeah, she can't wear your life vest. She has to wear our life vest. And so I was like, oh, okay. So I go and I put the life vest on her, and they're like, okay, so yeah, she can go down. So I put the life vest on her, And I'm like, all right, Reese. So she sits down and she scoots out and he's like, you might want to go down there just in case. I was like, okay, so I'm running down 80 stairs, 80 wet stairs to get down to the bottom.
Why didn't you go down the slide?
They didn't. Anyways. All right. So
He didn't want to
because
he was scared.
well, this
It doesn't matter.
This is going to be
So you
important.
run downstairs.
This is going to be important in the moment. So I run down the 80 stairs, get down to the bottom. Reese is already out. Apparently, my grandpa just sees this like missile come out of the slide, and Reese just kind of skips, and then she can't swim and doesn't know how to correct herself. And there's like a current,
right?
and so she's just bobbing, but like flipping, and like the life vest is keeping her afloat, but she's still like splashing. She's spinning and just splashing her face in the water. And I like have to jump in to like go and save her. Some guy is like, you want me to get her? And I was like, yes. And so he like comes underneath and like gets her.
I'm a water polo coach. Out of the way.
my daughter's in shock. Like, she's like, I get her. We go underneath the little like lane line because this is the whole thing was nobody can stand there and catch their kid. Like, you have to get out from beneath this like lane line or whatever. So she was going to have to bob her way out of there anyways. And my grandparents are both watching. My Oma and my Opa are just watching this whole thing. And so I like go and I take her underneath and I'm like, did you have fun? And she's just like in shock. She's not talking. She's just like nodding yes or whatever. And I'm like, it's okay. Like, did you? And she's like, eventually after about like 5 minutes, she's like, I want to go down this small slide. I was like, okay. So we go and we ride down that. There's no problem. But like, I don't know. There was like, I've never felt so. As a parent, I've never really put Reese in danger, but I felt really, really bad. And I was like, I'm responsible for this decision and I feel terrible. And so I just felt miserable like the rest. Like, it was really after dinner, I felt really anxious about it. Like, I was like, this is where like parenting and like knowing things is not good. Like, I was like, she could have got like, she started coughing like later that night. And I was like, oh no, dude, like she dry drowning, you know? And I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, like I'm such an idiot. But she's fine, you know, just fine. But we won't do it again. But it was fun. She's fine.
Did your grandpa do the thing where he stood there and was like, "That was a really dumb idea," as if it was somebody else's idea?
He thought it was. He thought it was hilarious. He was tickled pink.
Oh, okay.
He literally was laughing his ass off.
I need to meet this guy.
And so was my grandma. My grandma and grandpa are just laughing their butts off.
Meet them.
And they're like, "Was that fun?"
Like me. That'd be me. Like, it's fine.
Remember, this
is all for your children exist for my entertainment, and this is entertaining as hell.
Oh yeah.
And then you start thinking back to where your mom was talking about, this is why we are the way we are.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, oh fuck.
No, and I mean, like, we've known that about Oma and Opa for like our entire lives, but like for whatever reason, I decided to bite on this one, and I felt really bad about it. And I've owned up to it. I'm owning up to it on the podcast. I owned up to my parents and to my grandparents and to everybody that's asked. I was like, it was a bad parenting moment. I should not have done it. I put my daughter in danger.
What did Audrey say?
She was like, thank God I wasn't there. I was like, I know.
Well, if she had been there, that wouldn't have happened. She would have.
Yeah. She laughed about it, but she was like, she would have been like, you are not taking her on that. I'd be like, okay. But, you know, what are dads for, right? So
exactly.
So we get there, we get done with the pool.
She probably had the same look dogs have the first time they go in the water, where they come out and they're just like, "What just happened?"
Yeah, she was shocked.
How do I get out of here?
Yeah, eyes were the size of saucers. It was crazy. I was like, and
it
wasn't like a fast water slide. Like, it was all pretty like, it was mellow. The issue was it didn't have anything to do with the water slide itself. It was just the fact that she can't swim and is just bobbing in the water by herself, you know, with nobody to be there. It is like looking for somebody to help her. And I felt so bad. I felt terrible. I tried. I ran down 80 flights of stairs to get there.
The best description is you saying she was just skipping off the water like a stone.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't weigh anything. It's just like, now she sinks. And now she's bobbing.
Yeah, bobbing. Yep.
Which this is going to be the pivotal moment. Is she going to grow up and want to do skydiving and everything? Or is she
who knows?
Like,
I was
nope.
I always try to get I've been trying to convince Audrey to build a half pipe in the backyard, but she won't let me. So
we got to do something.
I know.
We got to end this helicopter generation.
Yeah, I know. So we go to
within reason. Of course.
With you.
Without great grandpa's input.
We go to dinner that night. We go to the Napa Rose, which is highly recommend for anybody going to Disney. It is a very nice restaurant. They do coursed meals. I stuck with fish pretty much that night. I had a really interesting, it was probably the most, for what it tasted like, for my second course, I ordered the stuffed mushrooms that were stuffed with duck confit.
Ooh.
And they were an interesting mushroom. I don't know what kind of mushroom they were. They kind of looked like dates, but it was like stuffed inside. It was like really large dates, but there was.
Have you ever had duck confit?
Yeah, I do like it.
I've never had it.
And this, I've only like had it like twice. Like, let's not act like I'm like having this all the time. But the way it tasted when I ate it was it just tasted like a taquito. So I was like, man, I paid a lot for this taquito. It literally tasted, I gave it to Audrey. Audrey hates mushrooms. She's never had duck, and Audrey's not exactly adventurous when it comes to trying things.
Mm-hmm.
And she ate it. And I was like, I want you to tell me what that tastes like. And she's like, I don't know what. And I was like, a taquito. And she was like, yes, that is exactly like the texture was similar. The whole thing, it just tasted like a taquito. But it was really good. They're really well done. They explained everything that we got. Really, really good mixed drinks. So got like this like Sequoia rye drink that was smoked, but it was really good, really nice. And it's a nice fancy restaurant that I'd recommend more for like date night rather than take the kids. Although the kids' food was really good and they did a really good job and very patient with kids. It's very, remember, it's still Disneyland, so they're patient with people going in and trying that stuff. But if you're there and you want to splurge on a nice, really good
No, that restaurant's only for the families who have au pairs for the week, so that the mom and dad can go have their own dinner while the au pair takes the kids to Huck Finn, whatever.
Well, like I said, the kids' food was really good too because we tried it. So, and they got their own 4-course meal too. They got like donuts with like chocolate malt balls and like all this kind of stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. I stuck with like fish stuff and it was really good. But then we go to the parks the next day. That was great. It was, I will say that it was the best experience that I've ever had at Disneyland. And I didn't ride a single ride that I like. I rode 2 rides that I like. I rode, like as an adult riding rides, I rode Pirates of the Caribbean. That was always fun, regardless of what age you are. And then rode Space Mountain with my dad while the kids were taking a nap. And that was fun. And now it's Hyperspace Mountain, so it's actually Star Wars themed, which actually I don't like as much as the original Space Mountain. I kind of like the retro music that kind of went with Space Mountain. I was like, I don't mind the Star Wars takeover of stuff, but I was like, all right, why not leave Tomorrowland, Space Mountain, just the regular?
Yeah.
So it was cool-ish. But so now it's like now they actually have like scenes inside there where it's like there's a TIE fight, like you're chasing a TIE fighter and trying to like shoot it down or whatever, and you're in an X-Wing kind of concept. It's the same ride, but it's just like now there's like this whole story behind it. And it was like, man, it was just fine the way it was. You didn't have to change it. Everybody loved it. So I don't know, it was fine.
I had one of my regret parenting moments at Disneyland too. It was actually California Adventure. This guy was, I think, 7.
You took your 3-year-old on Space Mountain.
No, we went on to the California thing.
Oh, the California Adventure, California Soarin'.
Soarin' and California Adventure.
The Soarin' over California or the California Screamin'?
Soarin' over California.
The
the
Soarin'
4D adventure.
The one where you're flying through California.
Oh, yeah.
And I think Jeff was like 7 or something.
Fucking stressed.
He was
as a
freaking out, and I did not handle it well. I was basically like, without saying the word, like, shut up, you pussy, and just, there's no big deal. This isn't even the scariest ride in here. If you can't handle this, then we should just go home, and just making it worse. And it was just, I think about that. Everyone was like, man, I was just suck it up, soldier.
That's okay. I think that Disneyland can bring out the best and the worst in people. And it brought the worst out of my 2.5-year-old for a little bit. The first day I was like, dude, if she's going to be like this the whole time, like, we are not going to have fun. Like, she was just like in lines, fine. On rides, fine. But getting onto a ride would lose her shit. Like, it was like, it had no problem, but it was like, it's like, oh, what Dumbo do you want to ride in? Oh, I want the purple one. Okay. And then the second we get next to Dumbo, blah, I'm not going. Like, and it'd be like, no, we're here. Like, we gotta go. And so, pick her up and put her down, and she's upset until you get going. She gets on the teacups with my mom and with my mom and my wife, and she's just sitting there sour faced the entire time. She's like, no, we can't spin. This is slow. We gotta go slow. And so we end up taking her and putting her down for a nap after lunch. And guess what? Right as rain the rest of the time. So it was great. We ended up having a great time. And like I said, that it made it the best experience that I've ever had in Disneyland. And I only rode 2 of the rides that I like, because there's nothing like watching your kid just get excited about something. Like we got Reese the princess breakfast. If you've never gotten the princess breakfast before, they have like a professional photographer that goes around and like takes photos of. So like my daughter has wedding photos of her and Tiana, like wedding grade photos.
This is the dress thing?
No, there's a princess breakfast that happens that you can do. That's like for 2 hours, and you get like a window slot where you're able to go and just have breakfast, and then at the Napa Rose, and they bring in all of the princesses that they have.
Wow.
And they just come in and they say hi to you, and they all spend individual time with each of your tables as they go around, kind of thing. And so Reese has pictures with like all of them. Her 2 favorites, or her number 1 favorite wasn't there. Belle is her favorite, so she didn't show up, but they had like everybody. I think Belle and Cinderella and Moana were the only 3 that weren't there, but they had all these other ones. They had Pocahontas, Mulan, Ariel, Tiana, Aurora, whatever. Anyways, they took pictures with all of them. It was great, and she loved it. So that was really cool.
That whole character thing is insane. I know somebody I know. She lived down in
Florida,
she lived down in Orange County.
Oh yeah.
During her college years, and she was on staff as like a character, but was perpetually like trying out to be one of the Elsas. And this girl, I don't know, when Danica and I knew her, we went to Africa with her twice, I think. She looks exactly like Elsa. So I'm like, who are these girls who are beating you out?
Yeah.
As Elsa, and she's like, no, it's insane. It's like 100 of us try out, and she goes, it's worse than beauty pageants. She goes, I mean, they're not like telling you you're too fat and all that kind of stuff, but it is brutal. I'm like, I didn't even know this is a thing, but it makes sense.
Yeah, and like there's lots of rules that they have to follow. So like Reese, so there's only certain ones that are there for like the photo sessions, and they cycle them out like they do with all the characters, but. So she has professional photo grade photos with Tiana, but then Ariel was supposed to come in next, but they were kind of leaving during that time because Reese was pretty much done. She was like, we had ate the meal, like we can't really keep her contained at this point. But Ariel comes in and they do like a big announcement where they like open the doors and then walks the princess or whatever, and Reese runs to her. So like, runs to her, and like without dropping a beat, the girl's just like, oh, hello, and gives her a hug or whatever. And she's like, I have to go. I'm so sorry. And then like does her like little like move to like does the maneuver. Cause again, as part of their policy, like it's like if a kid gives you a hug, and they're not allowed to pull away from a hug. None of the characters are allowed to pull away from a hug. You have to wait until the kid.
Yeah, they can't hug the kid first. The kid has to hug first, and they cannot let go until the kid lets go.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. Luckily for that princess, for Ariel, Reese is not really like, overbearing. That kind of stuff. So, but it's funny. We have a video of her literally running up to her and like giving her a hug as she came in, kind of thing. But she was definitely not supposed to do that. So it's kind of crazy how the characters operate, but she did good. As for my graduation, if you want to know about that, instead of my Disney trip, graduation went great. I think did I say last time how there's no speeches, there's none of that stuff. It's literally you just get there during your time slot and you walk through campus, and then throughout campus, they just have the professors from the university all in their regalia. They're all in like lawn chairs, and like they have like tents set up, and they're just like, they're waving pom-poms and clapping the little clappers or whatever, or ringing cowbells, and they're just cheering you on as you like walk through campus. And it was cool. I got to talk to a couple of professors that I had, and the head of our department, and he was kind of asking me what my plans were moving forward. He was like, are you coaching? And I was like, yep, I'm a head water polo coach, and I'm actually pursuing doctoral work. And he was like, oh, that's awesome. So like we got to chat about that. And then you go down into the auditorium and then you walk across the stage just like you normally do. They announce you just like they normally do. You go and you take photos and you receive your diploma or your diploma cover. And then you take photos and your family's all there able to watch you and cheer you on. Whole thing takes 25 minutes.
Oh, cool.
Yep. You go and you just, it's literally like a little obstacle course. You just walk all the way through and then boom, and then you're done.
Or do you have them hitting on co-eds like Professor Lambeau and Good Will Hunting?
Yes, totally. And then you go and then you take pictures out in the courtyard area. They have like a couple of different photo stations set up for you to take so multiple people can be taking photos with their family and all that kind of stuff. And then you get to go home at your leisure and you don't have to sit there and listen to every single person's name get called. You don't have to listen to speeches that are the same every year.
Yeah.
And so everybody in my party said best graduation ever. And I was concerned. I was like, this sounds really cheesy. This is either going to be really bad or it's going to be surprisingly good. Like it's going to be like, that was kind of lame, or it'll work out. And it worked out really well. So there you go.
Cool.
Master's degree acquired 5 months ago, but that was the graduation. So.
One more thing on Disneyland. Comedian Dave Smith, I heard him talk. It was about 3 weeks ago. He was talking about it. He took his family. He lives in New York, so he took his kids down to Disney World, and he said it was great. It was great, but then they I guess you can pay extra to meet the real Mickey Mouse. There's like some like special Mickey Mouse who's like the real Mickey Mouse, and so you pay to like meet and greet and to have your photo taken. So he said, all right, so we paid so the kids could meet Mickey Mouse. And he was just like, we stood in line for 10 minutes and it was all adults in front of us. And he's just like, where did we go wrong? What is going on here? He's like, I got cranky, I don't know, his kids are like 4 or something. I got cranky kids and I'm standing here waiting for adults to get their picture taken with Mickey Mouse.
Well, and that's actually where, so I had 2 observations, which is fine. You guys can, okay, again, this was the best time. And I don't mind people that go to Disneyland as adults without their kids. I get it. It's an amusement park. It's fun. There are certain things that I want you to be mindful of, is that it's still a place for kids. So make way for kids is one of the things where it's like, I would request if you go as an adult, make way for kids. It's still a kid thing. And I don't think I was mindful of that before having kids, but now it's just like, all right, dude, so here are my 2 examples. I was there for May the 4th weekend.
Oh, no. Actually, I know people who might have been there.
So I don't have a problem with you being there, and you don't have your kids. But I will say that a lot of you that are there, you all look like you just barely got out of your mom's basement at 35 years old. For May the 4th weekend, you're just like,
Mom, you told me I could go get my lightsaber this year. God.
Yeah, I was like, and they were blocking but we didn't even want to like spend time in Star Wars Land because Reese can't ride any of the rides or anything. Like she's never seen a Star Wars movie. Like there's no point for us being there. But we have to Audrey was doing the 70th anniversary, so we got to get through there for Audrey is a pin collector. Which is just legal gambling in California is really what it is.
100%. You're trading pins. Hey, do you have this pin?
Hey, don't dock it. It's been a worthy excuse for you to go south and drink beer. So.
Yeah. It has happened before. And I didn't drink any beer on this trip. I had half a Stone after graduation. That was a Stone IPA, but I had to be parent and all that kind of stuff. And even then I was like, I wasn't really missing it that much. But because I was having too much fun. Not that beer makes things not fun or whatever, but I didn't notice it. So that was that. We just had to get through there to do stuff for Audrey's pin stuff, but it was just like, dude, come on. Like, okay. And then on Sunday, which was also the May the 4th thing, so there was that. But Sunday was Bats in the Park Day, which was goth day. At Disneyland.
No.
And so and nobody's dressing their kids up in goth. So it's just a bunch of adult goths all going to Disneyland, which is cool. Like you got your own like theme day or whatever kind of thing, but it was extra populated with adults on that particular day. And so you can find videos of it, lots of pentagrams around the park on that day. Yeah. There was a girl I got next to. And here's one of the things that I actually, and how this relates to the podcast is I think there is still this kind of, there are people that are so feisty sometimes about who they are that they think that other people, and based off of their experience, or maybe not their experience, based off what they've been told about how people respond, they think that people are judging them. So there was a girl that was next to us in Mickey's Runaway Railroad, and she was very upset. She was like, and I'm trying to distract Reese because this girl's language was colorful. And yes, if you listen to this podcast, you're like, Colton, your language is colorful. I believe it or not, I do have the ability to control it at the majority of times. I just, when I'm with my friends, I don't care. And when I'm drinking, it makes it even more hard for me to care.
Yeah.
But she was like, there was a guy with a fucking God is good hat, and I just wanted him to fucking say something to me. I just wanted him to say something to me. Like, bitch, I'm ready. Like, my parents were Christian. Like, I'm ready for him to fucking say something to me. Like, I'm ready to fucking lay into him. And I was like, and I'm just sitting there, like, listening to her, like, go for it, you know, kind of thing. Like, she was like, they don't know what we've fucking been through. And I was just like, I'm just thinking in my head, like, I'm just like, I bet you that guy didn't even notice you. Like, you know, like, but there's this idea that, oh, these people, they're ready to oppress me. They're ready to come after me, and I need to defend myself. And like, there's even a possibility that she, at some point, if it was a given time, saw enough of them where she would have gone up to them and instigated something, you know, because of how threatened she felt in that moment when that guy hasn't even done anything nor had a single thought in his head about her. Like, you know, and I think that's where what she was saying out loud and what she was displaying in that moment is how we've gotten to a point in our culture where people are so independent in their victimhood. I don't know how to describe it.
No, you said it
like,
exactly. That's exactly the way to say it. The funny thing with those people is they're, you know, by the way they're framing, the way she framed it, she's the way she is because she doesn't want to be the way her parents were.
Sure.
And if you're an outsider, you're like, okay, well, let's just assume your parents were monsters. You being bizarro parent, you come off as just as awful as they do, or, you know, not like terrible person, but just as unpleasant.
Yeah.
So I don't think this whole bizarro parent thing worked out for you. You ended up just like, you're dressing different, but you're the same thing. So
yeah. Yeah. And so it was just kind of, it was disappointing. And I'm not saying that.
Still haven't gotten over your anger.
Yeah, I don't think that's and I'm not stereotyping her as a representative for the goth community or for the people that were there that day. But I think that was a very genuine response from her that exists in our culture today, where people are trying to be countercultural and therefore are very combative, even when nobody has been combative towards them. And they associate you with being a part of the enemy just because you don't look like them, or you maybe outwardly have an opinion on something, and therefore they assume things about you based off of the fact that you have an opinion about something, such as like you wear a hat that says God is good. So you have opinion about who is controller of our universe or whatever, and therefore it conflicts with mine. And so therefore you are my enemy, and therefore you must hate me. And so therefore I'm prepared to lash out at you. Which that is not how we should operate as a community.
No, also I don't understand this strange dichotomy of people who get into kind of niche cultural things, and then they get upset that everyone's like treating them if it's a niche thing. Like, just own it. Like, yeah, I'm a weirdo and I like it. Those are the kind of kids I grew up in high school who were all goth. They were just like, yep, I'm different and I own it, and I don't really give a damn that you kid wearing your Oakleys and clothes from Miller's Outpost don't like me. This is
I guess
I like that part, but when they're like, you're treating me like I'm different, like, well, you're going out of your way to be outside the culture. Like, I don't know why then you're like railing at me because I'm accepting, like, yeah, you're kind of out there. I'm not saying you're a weirdo, or like a crazy person or anything. I'm just like, yeah, you're out there. You be you. It's kind of like,
Well, and that was, we talked about this is now refreshing my memory. We talked about like, I showed up at Barnes & Noble on the day of like a book reveal or whatever for like this one particular book that has to do with like dragons.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And this girl like dressed up. Oh, yeah. Jeff's read this book. And these girls are dressed up and they were like, could you believe the way that everybody was looking at me or blah, blah, blah. They were like, I didn't feel comfortable, and they like left early or something from this party that was supposed to be going on at Barnes & Noble. And I was like, bro, you got to embrace that you're being weird.
Yeah, it's like,
I was like, you got to establish, like, I get that this is a safe space for you, but you also have to, like, I want you to have a safe space.
Yeah.
But you also need to realize, like, it's so weird. Like even when grown-ass women are dressing up as freaking princesses walking around Disneyland, that still might be a safe space for them, but I still think that you're fucking weird. Like...
you do you, but I still get to make jokes about it. I get to make jokes about you standing in line, getting pictures, but I'm not saying you shouldn't do it or like
whatever.
You should be
I was like, it's
banned
you,
from the
like,
park, but just also like
people are gonna have an opinion on you or for whatever.
Be the heavyset girl who thinks she's the hottest girl in the room. I mean, you might disagree with her, but be that. Like she owns it. Like I'm attractive and I like
heavyset girls in Tulsa, Oklahoma go to nightclubs wearing cow print. And they think they're hot shit. I mean,
own it.
Own it.
Because there's people in the room there are people that are attracted to that, but like do that, but don't do the like, what are you staring at me because I'm overweight? It's like, well, I didn't say anything, so whatever.
Well, it's also Muskogee. We have the Castle of Muskogee. We do a Ren Fair there every year. It's one of the bigger ones in our area meaning like Texas, Missouri, Arkansas, all that kind of stuff. And it's just a bunch of people like that. They're weird. They know they're weird, and they get to show up to a place and pretend they're in medieval times and not have taken a bath or a shower in forever, but they're normal there.
Yep.
I think it's weird, but my wife thinks it's enjoyable because she likes to go and people watch, kind of like I do sometimes. So
yeah, we did that a couple weeks ago for the Visalia one, and then my wife liked it except for the furries. That was off-putting.
Oh, that's right.
Speaking of furries,
she was like, she doesn't mind it. She didn't mind the tails on people or the ears. It was the mascot furries that was off-putting to her.
I ruined Turning Red for my wife.
Oh, really? Because you explained to her that it's about a teenage
girl battling with her identity about being a furry and going through puberty and all that stuff. And at the end, she has the tail and the ears. And I was like, oh, so we just watched an entire movie about a coming to age / I want to be a furry now and trying to tell her mom.
Yeah.
No idea what you guys are talking about.
No, there's a film about it.
Look, you and I, we're weirdos in the amount we like beer. Like we're strange.
Sure.
Someone were like, that's nuts that you get up, you drive all the way up just to try a beer. I'd be like, yeah, but you don't understand. It's one hell of a beer. But also, you're correct. I'm weird.
Yep.
This is not normal behavior.
Yeah.
And I would be like, oh, you don't get it. It's just because you're a loser and you're just like, don't crush on me. And like, nah, yeah, you're right. I'm a total weirdo.
Well, and like, I'm also fairly socially aware of things, like, and it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of a bad thing. It's kind of a good thing. It just kind of depends on how you view it. I've always I tried my darndest to not over commit to things that aren't socially acceptable in most social circles. So like there are things that I enjoy, but I won't go all out on those things because it's not socially acceptable in most circles. So like when we talked about, like I told you that it was really weird for me to discuss anime on a podcast or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Or if you approach me and you want to talk about video games, 9 times out of 10, no, probably 10 times out of 10, I will never ever bring up video games in a social setting. You would have to talk to me about them first. I will never talk to you about them without you bringing them up to me first.
To be fair, though, you broke that rule because you were the one who brought up Attack on Titan. I wouldn't have known anything about it.
Yeah, well, that was because of the.
But my life would have been missing if I hadn't.
Yeah, that was it was a show that was heavily on my mind that day. Like I was like, oh, that was brutal. Like I don't know. Like I need to talk about this with somebody. Like
not your standard anime.
Yeah, I was just like, I got something.
Actually, it's not technically. I don't know all the distinctions.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's whatever it is.
It's just something I was struggling with that day. I was like, all right, we're going to talk about it. But I don't know if you remember that episode. I'm like, but like I can't say it out loud. Like I was took like 10 minutes for me to, after over explaining to finally get to where I needed to be. But yeah, so like, I get that. So like, but there are things that, I mean, full kudos to those people that are able to just fully throw themselves into those things, and they're able to go into those spaces, and they're just like, yeah, I'm a weirdo, but I have a lot of fun doing whatever it is. Like, I even feel like it's weird wearing like Disney memorabilia at Disneyland. Like, I don't want to wear anything. Like, I'm not wearing a grumpy shirt. I'm not wearing a whatever. Like, there's Disney movies that I like, but I'm not going to wear like their stuff. I'm not going to collect pins. I'm not going to do like, I'm not a Disney adult kind of thing. I don't wear ears.
I have a grumpy jacket somewhere, and I only bought it because I didn't bring a jacket.
Yeah.
One year, we were in California Adventure, and it got cold. And I was like, fuck it. I got to go buy an $80 jacket.
The closest I came to wearing Disney memorabilia was technically Donald Duck was an Oregon Duck at one point. So I wore Oregon stuff the whole time, which was awesome because I had people shouting at me "Sco Ducks" while I was walking through the park. So I was like, fuck yeah, let's go. I'm a part of a community now.
You're right.
So I was like, "Sco Ducks." Yeah, it probably happened to me like 12 times while my dad was around, and he's like, is this normal? And I was like, nope, it's only happened here, but it's awesome. So
I got to stand up for OU yesterday, for that ride along I did, the lieutenant I went and talked to.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, I go to Oklahoma quite a bit. We have some property out near Stillwater. I was like, just when I thought I could like you. He's like, oh, you and your red shit, man.
it's better than when Tim tried to go talk shit to that Texas Longhorns guy that was outside of Taco San Marcos. And Tim walked up to him. He's wearing a Longhorns like polo or whatever, and Tim goes horns down on him, and the guy's just like, what?
Yeah, the guy was clearly he'd gotten his master's degree there and didn't give two shits about sports. He had no clue what I was talking about. As opposed to Costco last week when we were there, someone was blocking the way to the tri-tip, and I mean she was well within her rights. She wasn't like hogging it, but it was a crowded day, and she saw me standing there, and she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and I said, "Oh, that's fine." And then I saw she had a USC sweatshirt, and I said, "I would expect nothing less from a Trojan." And she laughed.
Nice. That's awesome.
This is why sports are important, because it allows you to it allows for, well, not for some of us. Some of us then take it to where it's not supposed to go, but it allows for a bit of tribalism, which we all have to have a little bit of. So
yeah, it's a little tease. I mean,
they don't do it so much in the UK though.
Giants fans out of what?
They don't do so much that in the UK though.
No, they just get racy.
They get racy.
As we talked about,
they're not as violent as they used to be, but they got to. That's because they don't allow them to drink anymore. So
yeah, I was asking, my sister's getting her master's degree, and I was like, is she getting it through the University of Washington? And they're like, no, she's getting it from this other place. And I was like, oh, okay, I can still talk to her then. I actually like the University of Washington. I think I've said that on this show before.
She's getting it through Seattle?
Yeah, I don't know what school she's getting it through.
Seattle's one of those schools that's kind of popped up and gotten big. They got a good basketball program, or decent one. And
well, my dad says that basketball is huge up there in Seattle. It's their biggest sport.
Oh, really?
Football, no. Like he says that
football is not a big thing there. Basically,
there.
the top kids from Oregon and the top kids from Washington are like lumped into one big group.
Well, the number one
high school
number one NBA, or not NBA, number one college recruit, the 5-star for basketball, it was at the high school that my dad was previously the AP of this last year. But then my dad switched over to a middle school. And that kid already has a deal with Nike. He's going to go to the University of Kansas, not Kentucky, because he has a deal with Nike. And therefore, that's going to decide that he's going to Kansas because
that
Kentucky is Adidas.
The shoe company.
And Nike's not going to lose their golden boy.
No.
So.
Yeah, Federal Way, I think, has always put out a good amount of talent. Every once in a while, they'll put out a football player, but basketball, steady stream.
And actually, this is something that's good discussion for the podcast. So people are talking about, or my dad was kind of discussing that, and I think it's becoming kind of true because I've known a couple of people that have been in the circuits now with high school basketball, that basketball is it's weird. It's becoming more of a legacy sport than all the others, which is kind of interesting.
Are you talking about with like Bronny and the
talking
about
about Suns,
100%.
Yeah.
It's come play for my team because so-and-so's son is playing here. And that becomes the travel ball and like kids are moving like full on states away to go play with the team. So like this kid that is the recruit that my dad was talking about, he's like, he's only been at our school for a year. He was in California before this. Like,
Yeah.
playing basketball there, he just didn't really meld with the coach. So they moved up north. And so now we get like 4 other players because they're all following this kid to stay on the team with him and get this whole kind of thing going on. So it's like, but our head coach is so-and-so's son or whatever. And so there's this legacy thing that's kind of going on in basketball right now where it's like, it's almost like basketball is becoming NASCAR real quick.
Yeah, I would say that started about 10 years ago. And I think it's just because that's the first generation where the fathers were very like intentional about their kids.
But it's not happening at that scale in the NFL or Major League Baseball.
It's happening a little bit more. I don't know enough. I don't watch enough
NHL
baseball
has a
to
shit
know.
ton of families in it, by the way. I'm not going to take that away from the NHL. I was like, the NHL has a shit ton of families because you got to have money in order enough to get your kid into the hockey programs.
Football a little bit. There's some juniors right now whose dads played when I was in high school, college, but not to the extent. And then there was the Matthews family that had 3 generations, but it's not like, I know what you're talking about with NBA. I'm trying to think.
Well, and I don't even think that it's necessarily an NBA thing.
Well, I think it's going to be, because I think that there's this high school, college, and especially with Bronny James getting the deal that he got with the Lakers when he should never have been drafted if he's going to play an entire year in the Gatorade League. Like, correct.
So there's kind of becoming this, I don't know, it's interesting. We'll
Let's
see how the NBA shapes up over the next couple of
There's
years.
LeBron and Bronny. So I remember Del Curry he played when I was when I was a kid, and he's got Seth and Steven. I guess there's a Joe Bryant. Oh yeah, Kobe's dad, Joe.
Yeah.
But there's a current group right now. Oh, Doc Rivers, and then his son Austin. There's Jaren Jackson Jr., but Jaren Jackson Sr. was also a player. But it's the Wiggins. There's a kid who played for the Lakers a couple years ago, and he bounced around with a couple teams. He had a famous dad. Oh, KJ Martin. His dad was Kenyon Martin. I guess there's a Scottie Pippen Jr. There's Gary Payton Jr. So yeah, basketball is a whole other thing.
And remember,
just why
NIL 5 guys on the court. So it's like, and remember, basketball is 5 guys on the court. So it's like, if you have one player that's the son of somebody else, that oversaturates a team.
See, that's why I think it's a thing, because you can build your own top of the line home basketball gym.
Yeah.
And these guys have them. So it's easy for you to train your kid, or your kid just like it and go out there and shoot 1,000 buckets every day. Yeah, you can put in a batting cage, but that's one part of the game.
Yeah.
And it's not the same as going out and hitting live pitching. You can't do anything about football. That's a whole other thing. So I think it lends itself to be able to just like, Daddy's got a 12,000 square foot house, and we've got our own private gym because I want to do my workouts and so kid just grows up playing. But basketball's always been like, NIL has transformed football and baseball, but mostly football, not basketball. Basketball's been that wacky forever. It was just all under the table, and it was kids getting free rides on PJs because some dude sponsored a travel team, and kids were moving all around the country. I mean, that dude, Elton Brand, I think, he played in like 4 schools in 4 years in high school. He was like playing for private schools all over the place.
Well, and I got a first-person account of an NIL thing that I don't know if it's necessarily good. And this may have been happening before NIL, so it doesn't actually matter, like, to just throw NIL in it either. But I know a kid who just got a couple offers to go play Division II football as a quarterback, and he's going to get offered $150,000.
That's insane.
To play Division II football.
Are they paying for his school on top of it? Good Lord.
But he'll have to go as an LLC. He'll have to make himself into an LLC. There's a bunch of legal shit that goes in.
Yeah.
But so his buddy just was going to go to New Mexico State, but New Mexico State's guy got hired for the Oklahoma State job, right? He's the year before or whatever.
Yeah, and he brought all of his players with him.
Yeah.
They're expected to be very good right away.
So he was one of them that was brought over from New Mexico. And he says that my nephew is the one that's got the D2 offers. My nephew's teammate is now Audrey's sister's son.
Okay.
Corn, I love you. I was like, he's a great kid. He's the one that is having to work hard to try and keep football alive for himself. And this is great. I think that this is awesome. His younger brother, I think, is not going to have a problem finding a football spot. His little brother's the real deal. So he's still got 2 more years in high school, and that kid wants to hit people. So he'll have a better chance of finding a spot than a quarterback will. So, but Corin, his ex-teammate, now moved on to New Mexico and now on to Oklahoma State, has attended 1 hour total of classes. That's it. Over his year and a half almost full year now that he's been there. And he has had straight A's for both semesters. He was told when he was there to not worry about it, to just make sure that he's always at practice on time and that he works as hard as he possibly can for his football program. And he's getting straight A's in a business program at Oklahoma State University. Now, I'm not calling out Oklahoma State University here. I think that this is happening in a lot of places.
I agree. Didn't we just have a discussion the other night?
About how shitty the Cowboys are? Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck the boys.
Everyone's going to miss Mike Gundy. He was a great coach. But his time was to go. He couldn't compete. Look, in 10 years, we're going to have all these stories in the New York Times that are just like, who could see this coming? Where you've got kids who never went to school but played for 4 years, and it's going to be all scolding the university, where it wouldn't the conversation, and then you're going to have on the other side fans going like, well, they knew what they were doing and screw them. And like, no, let's have an honest conversation. Players should have known better. There should have been better counsel from parents or somebody else. And yes, the schools are responsible because they are still ostensibly an academic institution. But now people need to own up that you've created a generation of people completely ill-equipped because they didn't understand that the amount of money being thrown at them meant nothing in the long run.
I don't feel like that's actually a student responsibility. If you value yourself as an institution and you put merit behind your degrees or behind what it is that you're doing, this is where when people have beef with college and they're sitting there and saying that they're just degree printers or whatever, and we're saying that the value of the bachelor's degree has gone down tremendously over the past couple of years or whatever, I'm like, yeah, it's because people are fucking printing degrees out here.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, you've taken away the value of an education by doing. I was like, at what point, because of how hard we push for kids to get degrees, and now we have all these degree printers out there, at what point does the bachelor's degree, do we have this inflation with it that it now becomes the high school diploma?
Yep.
I was like, you're no longer specialized.
No.
And so if you have all these people walking around with business degrees from the University of Oklahoma, or from Oklahoma State University, which I do think is a nice college that I think puts out a quality education.
It's a good school.
But you can get in there and you can work really hard as a business degree and get your mate and get that whole thing done. And then apparently you have the same kind of chops as the fucking quarterback who never spent a single day learning about the economic system while he was there. So it's just like, that's problematic for me. And I think that should be sending up flags to other people around the country where it's like, there's something messed up with athletics in the college world. I don't know if that happens for every sport, so don't go after the volleyball girls or, the golf kids. I don't think that that's necessarily the case. I do think that it's easier for football because, again, football does bring in the money. So I think they're more inclined to do it with football than they are to do
let's
it with
be
any
honest.
others. So
outside of football and basketball, most of those sports are
yeah, I'd say basketball too.
middle class, upper middle class sports.
Especially,
so those kids have parents who are micromanaging them probably, or at least advising.
Yeah,
them
if you're there for tennis, the Williams sisters are an anomaly in the tennis world.
Yeah. So if you're one of the top tennis players in the country, you're either probably from a foreign country, you're like a European country, or you grew up going to the IMG Academy, so you're not wanting for money and all that kind of stuff. But look, I have a lot of complaints about the NFL. The NFL, though, is known for about a decade and at least that it doesn't have a problem. It values the players that go through. And so within the next month, there is a symposium that will be going on where all of the rookies have to go to this thing. And it's a couple days, and there will be coaches, former players, and business people there. And it's all about, you've just had a whole bunch of money thrown at you. You think you're rich. You're not rich. And I from what I understand, there's no pitching of financial packages. So this isn't some insider thing like, oh, here's so-and-so from Dean Witter or Goldman Sachs, and they're going to sell, they want put your money there. It's just a straight up like, you now have a whole bunch of money. And the reason why they're doing this is because the NFL kept watching just draft class after draft class. Kids flame out. The average year for players is like 3 years in the NFL. They think they're rich and they're poor quickly, and it's just we need to. It's not our responsibility, but it's not our responsibility, but it is our responsibility to help shepherd them through this. College doesn't do that at all, and they need to.
Who's the guy that had that come to Jesus moment with Shaquille O'Neal?
Oh yeah. Was it
his agent?
It was his agent.
Which is great job from his agent to just.
I know his agent. His agent is married to Misty May, one of the big beach volleyball players. Yeah. His last name starts with an A. And actually, he's the one who he put all of his money in and revived AVP when it was dead. And then she and the blondie girl single-handedly brought it back. But yeah, that was all his thing. It's Armani or something like that. Anyway, yeah, he had a moment with him like, yeah, you're living like Mike Tyson or something here. That's not.
Yeah.
And the irony is, he didn't see all the endorsements now that Shaq and now lives off of all these things, the pizza thing and the insurance thing and all that. But that's his point, to be like, you don't know, you don't ever know. I mean, you just never know.
Yeah. Kid. Like
if you're a university, one, make your kids go to school, and then also require, all right, you're signing on the dotted line. Here's the thing. Now you got to go take a business class, at least one business class. And you're required, we're going to have someone sit through there. And if you don't ingest anything, that's your thing. But like, you are not rich. You're cash rich, but you're poor. You can burn through. And there was an article I read like a week ago. We're already seeing bankruptcies with college players.
Well, it's crazy. We're seeing it with high schoolers.
Yeah.
The kid that I just talked to you about has been making $150,000 a year from Nike since he was 14. NIL has hit high schoolers.
Yeah.
How are you getting signed and making money at 14 years old? Like you're now Disney stars at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's crazy. You're just like, golly, I couldn't handle it. And then once you hit 18, all that money becomes yours. Your parents have no say over any of it.
Oh, we were talking. Well, who's that kid you graduated around you? The kid you went to UCLA?
Cashmere Allen.
Yeah,
Cashmere. If he had been playing when NIL, because I think about the time he graduated, NIL became legal. 100%. Like, he wouldn't have seen $100,000, but he could have gotten paid money around here from like Merle Stone, VIP, like some decent money just to do like Instagram. Here's me eating pizza at VIP. Like, those are little things you could do.
It's crazy.
In fact, somebody said, it was either Brandon or Eric, said there was a meet out at Mission Oak around the corner, And they had a thing where you could see kids coming out and then coming over and having their picture taken with some product, and it was going to go up on Instagram or something. And they were just like posing with it. But the photo was being taken and it was being posted on there. And I'm like, hey, it's he either gave them the product so they didn't have to pay it. So it was like $60 of some kind of swim product. I don't remember what it was. Or he threw some money on top of it. But if you got a nice Instagram channel in town and you're trying to, you're the one person where everyone buys all their athletic equipment or whatever it is, like, yeah, it's worth keeping that business going so people don't start buying your stuff from Dick's Sporting Goods or whatever. So, but it's crazy. It's insane. It's gonna cause a lot of problems, as is the gambling thing. That's coming. In fact, and then on top of it, all the stuff, the derivative stuff from it, like the prediction markets, which is just straight up gambling, but it's completely unregulated.
Yes.
And sorry.
Sit. Sorry, but you can't do that, buddy.
Okay.
So there you go. That has been NIL Disney fuck around talk. We still haven't even asked Jeff how he's doing this evening. Jeff, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Since last week, I went with my real dad. We went out of Morro Bay on the Starfire. Shameless plug. We just went deep sea fishing. The first fish I pulled up was a nice 8-pound grouper. And even with all the lingcods caught, it was still early enough in the season. They were long enough to keep, but not heavy enough to win the jackpot, unlike me. So I came home on the plus side from that fishing trip.
Nice.
Yeah. And then outside of that, it's just, I realized 2-week vacations a lot better than 1-week vacations because it's not 6.5 days of events. It's 6.5 days of events and then like a week to just, hey, you know what? I woke up today and I want to go here, and I can, because why not?
Yeah.
We fly back tomorrow. I work a weekend shift with my boys, and then I go to the coveted mid shift, working 2 p.m. to midnight. So
Why is that the coveted? Because that's when the action is?
for a lot of people, especially on the real big family people side, which is kind of where I'm at in life right now, going to work at 2, you get the action of like the busy times during the day, coming home
Oh,
at
but it's
midnight.
not the midnight shift.
Yeah. And
So,
then
so you come home and then you're erect to do anything with your family during the day.
yeah, so
Okay.
you're coming home at midnight and you're still getting like 8 hours of sleep and getting to spend time with your family until about mid-afternoon when you start getting ready for work again, which so far seems kind of nice. I have a meeting scheduled pretty much right when I get back, so I can go over the finer details of what exactly they're expecting out of me on this shift. Because the way they presented it, which sounds fine and dandy, is they just want that extra guy in between both shifts to help one transition between the day shift and night shift getting on. You don't have to worry about, is day shift going to take this call that came out at 6:30, or are they going to try and dodge it until night shift gets out at 7? But then you also have a guy that can come in and, for a sheriff's office, help serve papers that on a day shift that's busy with other petty and random calls. So we're going to see how that goes and what exactly they expect of me, and I plan to do my best.
Hard she blows. What are we drinking this evening? Around the table, we heard about Jeff's wonderful, delicious treat.
Yeah.
I have the Farmhouse Rustic Lager from Lost Abbey Brewing Company down in San Diego area, and it's pretty tasty. It was the only can I had. I think Nolan and I got this when we were down there for the. This was canned June of last year when we were down there for, I think, the Rose Bowl. So
I'm drinking Enjoy by January 1st, 2026. Still really tasty.
that'll probably be my second beer.
5 months later. So, yeah, we do need to get our second beers because I think everybody's done over here. So
We'll get our second beers and then we can start the main topic for the night. Fruits of the Spirit. Not Fruit of the Loom, Fruits of the Spirit.
Which, by the way, Fruit of the Loom had a fucking cornucopia.
USC's always overrated. Michigan's always overrated.
Oregon's always second guessed. I don't think that we're underrated. I think that we're second guessed as always. We're not as bad as Indiana will be. I think people are going to second guess Indiana again. Even though they won a championship, there's still going to be questions about them and their team always, where it's like you're not a dynasty, but even though they've crossed the threshold, it's still going to be like, oh yeah.
Do you like that one?
I do like this one.
Oh,
I was just admiring the
kind of gave a look like,
No, it took me until that look you gave me to realize it's Coronado Brewing Company and El Segundo Brewing Company.
Colton got that one.
Yeah, it's very nice.
I did not. No, that was you. You got that
was
one.
Was it? Mm-hmm. Well, that was the one you brought from... Oh, that's right. That was the one I got in Vegas. Yeah, somebody who worked at ESPN said it's basically directive every year that you have to pump up Michigan and the New York Giants. Like everybody knows they're going to be mediocre or bad, but you still have to talk about it because
I feel like New York teams always get the pump up. So.
Oh yeah,
New York media.
That was back in the day. My friends were always talking about the recruiting classes, the rankings. I'm like, guys, the biggest subscribers come from Notre Dame, Ohio State, Texas, Michigan, and then I'm one other one. There's a reason why they're always listed as the best recruiting classes. No one's ever going to lie to them that their recruiting classes are overrated. All they have to do is get their dumbass fans to buy into it, because no one ever holds the recruiting classes accountable. You said 4 years ago we had the best recruiting class and we haven't been winning. They never get held accountable. So just lie to your face.
Do you think we still hype up the New York teams because that's like our reparations for 9/11?
You know what? No, but it's funny you mentioned that. That did happen with the Saints, where they propped up the Saints for about a decade because of Katrina. And I remember like 8 years after Katrina, at some point during the season, one of the networks, when they were on network TV at night, would do this 4-minute intro talking about the city of New Orleans. I'm like, it's 8 years already. Like, enough already. We gotten past let's feel sorry for the gutty little Saints because of Katrina. That this is over.
It was even bad in 2006 when it had only been 2 years. So.
Yeah, just like, enough already.
Or I guess that was 2007, right? That was 2007 Super Bowl
when they beat the
Bears. Or no, it was
Colts.
It was Bears Colts in the Super Bowl, but Bears had to beat the Saints to get to the Super Bowl. Right?
Yes,
and they were pumping up the.
But I think didn't the Saints beat the Colts in the Super Bowl too? Or they beat somebody.
Was that in 2011, 2000?
I don't remember. I just remember watching that at Brett Miller's house.
I like Drew Brees, so it wasn't ever a problem for me that they won.
There was somebody there.
You know what I just found out
talk about this.
That made me super disappointed in my wife.
What?
Love her to death, but what I found out about my wife that made me super disappointed. She's Steelers fan.
Steelers fan?
Oh,
yeah.
I'll give her that.
I mean, I don't hate the Steelers, but it's just, was it Ben Crybaby's burger?
Oh, Rusty Burger?
Yeah, Rusty
Roethlisberger.
Ben Reepisburger?
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
They settled.
Allegedly.
Just like Kobe Bryant. It's okay. I have my own athlete in my corner too. It's okay.
They found a Magnum. I'm white. That couldn't have been me.
We'll see how much she enjoys her Steelers now with the new coach.
To be honest, neither one of us have followed NFL for a long time. I just found out she was a Steelers fan.
Well, I mean, your mom's a Packers fan because of Brett Favre and then Aaron Rodgers. So
I flew with.
I was a Packers fan because of Brett Favre.
One of the flights I took, the pilot had a Packers lanyard on. I said, "Go Pack, go!" He said, "Hey, you like the Packers, eh?" I said, "Not really, but my mom's a fan. That's all I know the saying."
I got invited to go eat at Popeyes with Brett Favre.
Wow.
True story.
And you turned it down.
I turned it down. I was also invited to go to Dan Marino's son's. What's the thing when they turn 13?
I thought you were going to say
the bat mitzvah.
No. Catholic.
I thought you were literally
Catholic. Oh, my bad.
What's that one? Maybe it's not 13. What's the one where they?
Oh, there's First Holy Communion, and then there's
basically
confirmation.
Confirmation. I was like, seriously? He's like, yeah. son's getting confirmation tonight. Come on, you should go. You guys should all go. We're doing photo shoots with all the quarterbacks. Troy, just so you know, I love Troy Aikman. He will always be my favorite player. He's as boring in person as he is on television. Just so, love the dude, and he's probably cool, but man, was he boring as hell. But Brett Favre was a party.
I thought when Tim said I got invited to Popeyes, to go to Popeyes with Brett Favre, I thought he was just going to say I had to turn him down because John Elway invited me to KFC.
John Elway was there.
Better chicken, better quarterback.
He was there, but he didn't get invited to KFC. I do have pictures somewhere of Brett Favre and John Elway dressed up as 70 pimps.
Nice.
It's a whole other story. We're already an hour and 20 in, so maybe some other time.
And
if someone wants to hear that, they can say something in the comments.
And it was that inspiration for Tim and Danika's costumes that they went at to the Schaefer Halloween party.
Yes.
With the big-ass diamond cane.
15 years later.
Pimpin' a hoe. Which is why we're talking about fruits of the spirit tonight.
It was satire. It was satire.
Okay. The last Christianese episode we did spiritual gifts. So now we're doing, in some ways, I would say the invert to spiritual gifts, because spiritual gifts, as we talked about, were things where you're helping to grow the church, not yourself. And fruits of the spirit are their reflection of you. It's your growth. It's not you growing the kingdom. So, excuse me, beer's giving me the burps. All right. So where do the fruits of the spirit come from? They're mentioned several times in the New Testament. Jesus doesn't ever go through a list, but he alludes to them and talks about them kind of individually throughout his ministry. But they are specifically laid out in Galatians. It's Paul's letter to Galatians. The church in Galatia specifically is in chapter 5. I'm not going to do the thing where I read the whole chapter, because in this case, it's 16 to 25. I'm not taking anything out of context. So Paul says, but I say, walk with the Spirit, and you'll not gratify the desires of the flesh. For the desires of the flesh are against the Spirit, and the desires of the Spirit are against the flesh. For these are opposed to each other to keep you from doing the things you want to do, meaning the things you shouldn't do. But if you are led by the Spirit, you are not under the law. Now, the works of the flesh are evident: sexual immorality, impurity, sensuality, idolatry, sorcery, enmity, strife, jealousy, fits of anger, rivalries, dissensions, divisions, envy, drunkenness, orgies, and things like these. I warn you, as I warned you before, that those who do such things will not inherit the kingdom of God. But the fruits of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control, and against such things there is no law. And those who belong to Christ Jesus have crucified the flesh with the passions and desires. If you live by the Spirit, let us also keep in step with the Spirit. So, there you go. Colton, you have any initial thoughts?
Yeah, so my initial thoughts are, all right, so, and this is the key thing that actually I feel like encompasses this whole conversation, but we're going to start with it because I think that so many people, one of the reasons that Tim and I started this podcast was the idea that we wanted to get rid of this whole, like, not only did we want to get rid of a lot of these notions of what's biblical tradition, or maybe, or speak out against what the church is doing in some aspects, or we wanted to talk about how we should respond as Christians to certain things. But we also, there's still a weight on our hearts talking about these ideas that Christians have about checking boxes. And that's always been at the heart of who we are as a part of the faith. And I think that shows a lot of immaturity. Not necessarily that that's wrong. I had to have some conversations with teenagers today about the fact that, yeah, you're immature, and they hate being told that they're immature. because they feel like that they're mature, or they want to be mature, and they don't want to know that they're immature. But you still have to sit there and remind them, like, you don't know what you don't know. Like, you still don't, like, you're not going to know any better until you continue to move through life. You're really not going to understand how things work. Like I have a girl right now who's so conflicted about what it is that she wants for her major or whatever. And I was like, you shouldn't even be tripping over your major right now. You got 2 years of gen ed. Like, you're going to go and you're going to see what classes you like in college and then make a decision off of that. Like,
Yeah.
because she's like, I don't know what my future is going to be. I'm like, great. I was like, I don't know what my future is going to be. I don't even know if I'm going to be a teacher for the next 10 years. Who knows? Like, I don't fucking know. My dad started over when he was 40 years old. Like, I was like, this happens for people all the time. Like, we don't know. Well, I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to waste my money. And I was like, all right, well, you got to do something. So figure it out. Like, welcome to being an adult. Like, that's so. And I use that as an example to sit there and say, okay, so we have these situations where people have immaturity, and I don't mean that to insult anybody, but when you do the checkbox thing, that shows me, okay, you still are viewing the faith in one particular light that is fairly immature. Most people that are a part of the faith that view it in that particular light, high schoolers, middle schoolers that have grown up in it, or have been a part of the faith, or people that have been a part of the faith for about 5 to 10 years. And I know that seems like a long stretch, but I mean, remember, this is a whole lifetime that people are a part of it, where you have been taught this for a long period of time, and maybe you haven't gotten in any deeper. The fruits of the Spirit are not things to be checked off. They're not, okay, like, it's not something that you can practice. You can practice, sure, patience, but it is something. Again, a orange tree will bear orange fruits. That's what he's getting at here. If you are a part of the faith and you are doing what you are told to do, you will bear these fruits. These are the fruits of your labor. If you are doing the things that I've asked you when I talk about buying into the mission and vision of Christ, and that's where, again, we have this conversation where, again, where we look at James, where he says faith without deeds is dead. Again, it's not, is that you are not fulfilling what you are a dead tree. You are not fulfilling the full fruit. You don't have the fruit available. And if you have bought in, and you bought in for the correct reasons, then you will be a flourishing tree that gives off these fruits that are a part of it. Tim has leaned back in his chair. He has comments to make.
No, I'm listening.
So again, these are great, noble pursuits. If you want to be gentle, if you want to be kind, if you want to be patient, if you want to have self-control, that's amazing. These are different than the commandments, right? Commandments that's the checkbox, right? I will not murder. I will not do this. These ones are character traits that will be shown through following Jesus, right? Walking with the Spirit. And that's what that means, is that you are walking with the Spirit. In order to walk with the Spirit, that means that you are doing what is God's will for your life. Remember that sin is missing the mark, right? Sin is not bad, right? It's not that concept of bad. Nobody within that time period would have associated, well, I say nobody within that time period, Jews would have associated it with bad. But it means that you are missing the mark of what God has planned for your life. And so if you are walking without sin, that means that you are walking within, and again, if you're listening to this, you're like, okay, predestination, blah, blah, blah. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about God has a will for us to instill his will on this earth. And if you are doing that, then you are showing God's fruit. All of those fruits are God's fruit. That's how God's character is displayed through those fruits that you are bearing for him. You are sitting there and you are saying, I am gentle, I am kind, I am faithful, I have self-control. And the only way that you're able to do that is by following God's will and walking with the Spirit. That a good place to start?
Yeah, what you said about checkboxes is very good. I just want to be clear. from my perspective, if you do find yourself, I think you're correct where Christianity, I think one of the problems why people stay stagnant or childlike or bearing little fruit is one of the things you and I have been a central theme to this podcast is if your reason for becoming a Jesus follower is so that you can go to heaven, you're going to stay a little child. You're going to stay a child and bear little fruit and probably not fully materialize a lot of these fruits of the Spirit.
Yeah.
Now, there are a lot of people I know, and that's their big thing, but I think that's one of the big things that holds us back is, and that's where we have to be careful with the things like the Billy Graham and anybody who subscribes to just say the magic prayer, because if there's not a follow on, and I think that's where this passage is, this is an important passage, because if you fancy yourself, you believe you said the prayer and you're a Jesus follower, to Colton's point, you're not doing the work. This is 100% the Holy Spirit doing the work in you.
Yeah.
But if you're not seeing over a period of time, like you're going back and you're like, I still have a really big anger problem, and you're still having those problems. Well, if you have all those problems, probably not a Jesus follower. You probably think you are, but you're not. Like you didn't really decide to follow Jesus.
Yeah, and I'm not. And when we are talking about following Jesus, we're not talking about saying the prayer, right?
Correct. We're talking about you're an actual, you're someone that Jesus would say, you're following me.
Yeah, exactly. You are taking care of the widows and the orphans. You're looking after the sick and the poor. That is what God has asked you to do. He's asked you to. That's what we mean by Jesus follower. We're not talking about now where it's like, I believe in Jesus and I go to church every Sunday and I say I believe.
No Christian in the first couple hundred years would ever call themselves a believer in Jesus. That was not the phrase used. That is I don't know when that thing, probably like everything else that's a problem.
But nowadays
right now,
you can
modern.
be a believer in Jesus.
Correct. It's a Christian would have said, I am a follower of Jesus. And again, it's the Spirit that's doing the work, but you're putting in I'm doing what I can. I'm trying to do what I can, and then the Spirit does the growth.
Is the Saddleback, I think it was Saddleback Church, the Not a Fan series that we did, where it's and that series has its ups and its downs, but again, it's that whole idea of if you are a believer in Jesus, you get to be a spectator,
right?
You get to sit there and just be like, woo, I'm here in the good, I'm here with the bad, I get to criticize, I get to do whatever, but you're not a player in the field which God has asked you to be. And it's very easy, and especially in our world that we live in, for us to just be like, yeah, you can just sit there and be like, I believe in Jesus, and therefore that makes me a follower. I go to church every Sunday. That's something that God never asked you to do. He tells you to honor the Sabbath, but not in the context of which we currently live in. He tells you to, you're like, I put my kids in children's church, I tithe, and you can do a lot of these things and still never show any of those fruits, because guess what? At the end of the day, you're just a Jesus believer. You're not a Jesus follower.
Right.
And that again shows me immaturity. It's not.
The saving part is not our job. That's between.
Well, and also, and when you were getting into it, also notice that what Tim said is really important is it's meant for you to be self-reflective. This is not for you to sit there and be like, you're not showing fruit, you're not showing fruit, you're not showing fruit. And we can get into verses that'll support the hell out of that.
Well, in fact, I would even say, well, we can get to that in a minute. Yes, this is not for finger wagging or finger pointing.
No, this is meant for you to be self-reflective.
Right.
And for you to look at your walk in your faith and to identify a way forward for you to be able to be supportive of God and his mission and his vision for this earth and for this kingdom that he's building here. So that's how I would start this conversation.
Start there. Now, having laid that groundwork and made it clear, there needs to be, if the Spirit's working within you, you're going to see fruit bearing, and then therefore you're going to see evidence of love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control, all those things. That said, don't let that be something that then discourages you in your walk with Jesus, to where you're like, oh, I get angry all the time, or I don't feel like I have any peace or joy, or I don't really like people, so I don't really feel like I have love. Like what? Or I don't lacking any kind of faithfulness. Any one of these things, or all of them, you feel like you're struggling with. For a lot of us, when we accept Jesus, when we do the accepting of Jesus, and the Holy Spirit comes in, for some of us, it's a very dramatic thing. Now, I would say for those who have the dramatic are because they're at their lowest of the low. They're in a pit of despair, and so obviously they're going to see much more of.
Welcome to the pit of despair.
Yeah, that's literally what I had in my mind when I said it. They're going to have this, much bigger transformation. But most Christians that I know, most people that I know who've had one of those road to Damascus moments will tell you right away they start struggling with faithfulness. Maybe their issues before were self-control, and then they start struggling with that, or some of these other things, and then the despair kicks in, which then feeds off the joy and the faithfulness. And so don't let this list be something that robs you of your faith and your faithfulness.
More something to reevaluate how you're approaching the faith. Are you approaching it from the right angle? And that was part of what I was kind of getting at, where it's this idea of it should be self-reflective, not for you to beat yourself up or anything like that, but for you to sit there and say, all right, am I just a believer or am I actually a follower? Because I want to be different. I want to be what Jesus calls me to be, not just what the church calls me to be, or what biblical tradition has called me to be. And that, I think, will speak volumes to what it is that you want to be moving forward. Also, Tim did warn you guys, and I will warn you, the fruit of the Spirit that you absolutely never, ever want to pray for, no matter what. If you're not showing that fruit, that's okay. Just don't ever pray for it, ever. Don't pray for patience, because then God will give you lots of things to be patient for.
Yeah.
And you will be like, That'll put you in the pit of despair.
Yeah.
If you pray for patience, you're gonna get the almost 2-year-old that has kicked you in the dick 5 times within an hour.
You're gonna get a wife that takes 10 years to eat her food. Gonna finish three servings of food while she's still on her first, trying to clean up dinner. She's still like, oh, I was eating that.
Yeah. I have.
I'm not speaking from experience, I promise.
No, I've learned in this household, before I throw food away, hey, is anybody going to finish this? Oh yeah, I will. Okay, cool.
Wow, I love that she says that with confidence. I don't know. Just leave it out and I'll see.
Oh, that's Danica. She'll eat like a quarter of her thing, and then I'll get up. She's gone off to bed, and there's like a sandwich wrapped up in paper towel. I'm like, yeah, well, she will eat it. So,
oh no, Audrey will, and then I got to come back an hour later and clean up the kitchen. Gosh.
No, going back to the whole checklist thing, I had the rodeo we went to that we briefly talked about. What I haven't talked about yet was I go to the Sunday school at the church that we go to with my father-in-law and mother-in-law. And it was kind of one of those things where I started getting to that point. It was like leaning real heavy on wherever 2 or more are gathered in my name, so there shall I also be. And I was like, okay, I'm good. But I started struggling. I was like, well, I'm not being in big church. I'm not singing the worship songs. I'm not doing this. I'm not listening to a sermon. Am I good?
You're not missing anything.
And I had, right? I had this weird thing where like just about half, if not more, of the fruits of the Spirit, I think, kind of came through. At the rodeo, we saw my wife's ex.
Skippy.
No, not that one. He's cool. We like him. We love him. Same with Grant Kills.
That's surprising you remembered.
Dude, it's one of the funniest.
Although he gave
one of the funniest best man speech of all time.
The wedding.
All right, so Jeff and I know each other because I'm Maddie's ex.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. This is my kind of wedding.
The wedding did come up this week, and Nolan said it's still by far the best wedding.
Yeah. He got to wear his tiger stripe jacket, be a
flower
it's
just laid back. The whole thing was truly just a party.
Yeah, we played drinking games.
Yeah. But this ex was like, I don't know. I've always described the ex that kind of like hangs with you and you're like working through a bunch of problems as like the ex, capital THE. And I found out that he was at this rodeo because his family is very involved in the rodeo culture and owns a restaurant there in Springville.
Do they own Fatty Albert's?
No, they own Cowpunchers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so one in Springville, one in Ducor. Yeah, Ducor. But for the longest time, because of the stories that I've heard about him, it was as soon as I see him, I'm punching him in the fucking mouth.
Which you said that night, and I said, why do you care?
Yes, you said that, and my wife borderline started having a panic attack, not because he was there, but because she knew how much I didn't like this guy. And I was like, you know what?
She should have sweetly taken your hand, looked in your eyes, and said, why do you care?
She should have, but unfortunately, that's not where we're at because she does know me. And it was one of those where I was like, I love my wife too much. I'm going to respect her by not doing anything immediately. Not that I wasn't staring at him, making sure he didn't try and make advances on my wife while she walked away to grab me more beer. But then at some point, I get on the big screen at the rodeo doing my spirit fingers things. And
Twinkle toes over here.
Yeah. And it was one of those, the position in which he was in, there was no chance he didn't see me on the big screen along with my wife and our beautiful baby and our entire family just having a good time and laughing and smiling. And it was kind of one of those like peaceful moments where I was just like, I'm glad I didn't do what I thought about doing because that would have had bad implications on me as a person, the phone calls I would have had to make to people at my agency back home probably, since like half of Tulare County was there. It was just kind of one of those like, this is better. I don't need to be the guy that goes out and physically.
Sorry for the dark joke.
I don't need to physically make this guy feel pain. He saw probably his greatest fuck up. That guy's greatest fuck up, my greatest accomplishment in life, happy with the family. And I was like, you know what? I'm really glad I didn't go do something stupid and have to call a couple people from Tulare County pretrial facility. So I think it was one of those things where it's like, thinking back on it, doing hindsight stuff and getting into this Christianese talk that we're having here, it was kind of like God saying, like, you don't need the checklist. You're good. I still got you. You're doing what you can to follow me. And yeah, sure, you fall short, but who doesn't?
Who doesn't, man? Who fucking doesn't?
Interesting thing about the list. If you look at the list, it's kind of linear in how it's laid out. If the way it's laid out is, it's not really, if you follow it in that way, it's love. Then if you love, which Jesus himself says the greatest thing is to love, as does Paul or Peter. But love begats joy, joy and love begat peace. Peace then gives you patience because, if you have you're going to be patient if you have peace. If you have peace and patience, that's going to lend yourself to be kind where it's hard to be kind. With kindness becomes goodness because you see those who are, not only are you kind to those, but you are now reaching out and helping, like physically manifesting itself that way. And then faithfulness, gentleness. And then if you have all these things, you're going to have self-control.
Yeah, I think that it becomes like halfway through the list, you become a practitioner of, so first, the first half of the list is things that you experience. And I mean, like, love is things that you can show. Peace is things that you can show. But they are things that you will experience yourself. But then the second half of the list are things that you will show for sure, such as, faithfulness, gentleness, kindness, as opposed to, And so, yeah, I completely agree that it's something that's kind of a little bit more linear.
Would you also agree that in order to really practice this, in order for the Spirit to manifest this along with you, the Spirit is what brings this out. But I'll give you, I think I'm old enough in my life.
21?
Well, wait.
Not that old, Tim.
No, I'm getting ahead of myself. One, this is one of these lists that can kind of be laid out where I think it's there's some level of expectation that you're supposed to be like master these things.
Oh yeah.
Which I think, but I think that's not the right way to meaning like you always have patience.
Yeah, and it's always going to be something that you're going to have to work on, though. Like it's always.
So I would say in my where actually like I feel like our
fruits are still.
I'm good where I'm good where I'm at. Like I feel like okay, I am bearing fruit. Like I'm like the Spirit's bearing fruit is. Today I got frustrated with something. And it was like 30 seconds. And then right away I was like, what are you frustrated about? Like they're doing their thing, like whatever. What's wrong with you? Just
good. You
get
moderated that and didn't pray for it. Good job.
No, I didn't have to pray for it. I didn't have to ask for forgiveness because every day I have to get up and ask.
No. Praying for forgiveness is fine. Just don't pray for patience. Remember that, everybody. That's the less. Don't pray for patience. That's the episode. That's the episode title right there.
I wasn't really praying for patience. I was just praying for not being well, anyway. I think that's one of the I think you can take that as part of like, oh, I am like it's the Spirit actually telling you like, no, don't do that. Like you don't need to do that. And then getting like this is hard for everybody unless if you're just always patient, you're probably getting run over in this world. So like you got to allow yourself some leeway where you got to like, okay, I overreacted. And so I got to be a little more kind or have a little more peace about everything. But it's not one of those, it's not some constant state of something.
I also think that this is all of these fruits and us talking about like you can do all of these things, but are you a follower of Christ is like Buddhism and all these other like religions that don't follow God. They're like they practice a lot of the same things. You got to have love, you got to have peace, you got to have patience, you got to have all this stuff. In Buddhism, it's to reach enlightenment and you finally don't reincarnate again. But comparatively, how many people in these other religions reach that level of joy that you get once you start saying, you know what, I do all these things, but there's still something missing.
I've never met a joyful Buddhist in my life, nor have I ever seen one. You brought up, though, an important point.
Peaceful Buddhist. Sure.
You brought up an important, without meaning to. So I would say, in order for these things to be revealed and tested, and actually grow, even though, again, stipulating, it's the Holy Spirit doing the growth. And in all things, like, there's still participation allowed to allow the Spirit to do the growing. Eastern religions in particular, but even Judaism, like, Jews are very insular.
Yeah.
Eastern religion, very much so, is all insular. It's individual. And I would say,
yeah, but we've talked about that. That is, I mean, we're westernized. So, and that's where westernized culture is very much, Eastern culture is still dictated by Eastern religion, where it is very insular.
Right.
But, and so anybody that's a part of, this is one of those byproducts that exists within westernized culture, where the only reason why we are so, the reason why some Middle Eastern Europeans fucking hate coming to the United States is because the United States people have no problem fucking talking to you.
Right. Yes.
Is because we've always been people that have been outward focused, and it's part of our faith that has made us outward focused. As much as we hate Manifest Destiny and what it actually
spreading democracy.
Yeah.
These are outcroppings of spreading the gospel.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
Okay. So the reason why I bring that up is, in order for these spirits to really, these fruits to really bear, you need to be in community in order for them to be revealed. You know, you mentioned don't do checkboxes things.
Yeah.
But in a good group of men, or, you know, in a good group of Christians,
in a home church
where someone feels comfortable, they can say, hey, you know, I think, or, well, they might not point it out. You just say, oh, I'm really feel like I'm struggling. Well, you know, maybe you need to just accept, you know, take in a little more peace and just accept, like, I know it's hard, you know, you've been looking for a job or like whatever it is, but just accept, you know, and need to hear that encouragement. These aren't things that are going to happen if you're just an isolated Christian who doesn't like, as much as we talk about, church and all that. This is one of the reasons, as much as we dump on Church Inc., we're not prepared to just tell everyone not to go to church, because that's the means most people have for community. And it's in these things. Honestly, as much as we complain about church is really where you get tested on these things, because you're getting tested. The people that you think you're going to like are sometimes the people you dislike the most.
Yeah.
Or the people
Because
that
you're
you
like,
date
you're
that have been going
this
to
or
church.
you're that. And then you have to go home and be like, they're just, God bless them, they're just that. And so I got to get over. Yes, they are everything I said they are. But I also needed to like not loathe them, or what happens is start gossiping about them and then getting everyone else to say like, oh, he or she's this, and just be like, yep, no, and God bless them, and I just got to pray for them. Like that's like the sort of the enemy's moment where you got to pray for your enemy. I mean, they're not literally your enemy, but they're sort of, they're your enemy in that sitcom way of like, I don't like that person, but that's the moment where you're like, I got to practice kindness and just be like, didn't really want to see you today, but how are you doing? And do it in a genuine way.
Well, I think also something that we all need to accept. And as I get older, I think it becomes easier to accept, but I don't think a lot of people accept it, especially in the church. We all have to accept that we all have vices.
Yes.
We all have sins that are, it's kind of that whole like 7 deadly sins. I don't like to, actually, I have no problem using it. It's not anything that's necessarily biblical. Like there's nothing outlined within the scriptures that specifically talks about the 7 deadly sins. But I think that I think it helps categorize. And so you could sit there and say, there is a particular sin that I struggle with. I don't struggle with the other 6, like hardly at all. But one of the 7 I do. Like for me, it's sloth. I'm pretty lazy. Like when it comes to stuff, like I'm just like, man, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do this, blah, blah. I'd rather just do this, that, or the other. And so that's mainly mine. I was like, you could probably say that there's pride in there as well. But I don't show wrath. I'm not very a lustful person. Then you can read up on me on that one. But there's not like, I'm not, I think Americans can all, within the context of the world, show gluttony, but without that. But basically there are people that we have vices. And so we look at our vices and we have no problem pointing out other people, and we sit there and we see their flaws. But people can do lots of good and have tremendous faith within those struggles that they are dealing with themselves. Nobody has to be perfect within the context of the faith in order enough to be able to produce these fruit. Like that's the hard part, is we get there and we get so judgmental that it's like, you got to be completely clear,
right,
of all sin in order enough to be able to produce this fruit. And that's not the case. That's not true. You can absolutely be a Jesus follower. You sit there and you say, all right, this is a constant battle for me every day, but every day I'm trying my best to choose peace, patience, gentleness, kindness, faithfulness. Fucking self-control,
Well, I mean, you mentioned greed or gluttony for Americans. I think one of the envies, particularly in this day and age with social media, envy right now is just killing people.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Because you're just staring at what the Joneses are doing all the time.
Yeah,
so,
keeping the Joneses, man. It's
so I mentioned before what you said is important, and I think that there's a reason why I kind of mentioned it for a reason, but I think we need to tease this out a little bit more. There's a reason why there's this botanical, agricultural language being used. Jesus himself said, I'm the vine, you're the branches. Psalms has verses where it talks about righteousness being like a tree. And I think it's fair game to kind of just tease that out in its full meaning of, there's going to be times where you get to a point and maybe you get pruned back a little bit by the Spirit to be like, there needs to be, like, you've gotten over your skis and there's a thing that's going on. We need to like prune back. And you're going to have seasons of where you're really doing well, and then maybe something takes a hold of you and you kind of recess because the Holy Spirit's like, all right, I'm going to let you work through your little, like, let's say it's envy. You're like, I'm going to let you work through this because you really think you need the new house and the BMW. So let you run wild with that. I'll be here when you're ready to get that out of your system. And then when you come back, you're like, I don't want, like, this is tearing me up. All I do is worry about the things I can't have that I don't need. And then the Holy Spirit says, all right, I'm back. Here we are. And then, you flourish again. And so, and that's why it's good to be aware where you're at, but not to be like, oh my gosh. And I've known sweet old people and related, like, not directly family, but like basically family, who just were the sweetest people ever. And they would sit there and just ruminate because they weren't living out this, I'm not fully living out the fruits of the Spirit. It's like, where does it say that?
I think I brought it up when I was on the podcast a couple of years ago, is I think everybody, especially with sermons in like the whole Church Inc. environment, being, God says his yoke is light. He'll never give you more than you can handle. But at the same time, you get to passages like, this is specifically what I brought up probably a couple years ago, was Matthew 16:24-25, where Jesus literally tells you, take up your cross, follow me. Whoever loses their life for me will find it. Whoever saves their life will lose it. I think that's kind of one of those things where it's like, yes, the yoke is light in comparison to the rest of the world. It doesn't mean you're not going to fall, because if you're living by that passage that I love, you're carrying a cross. You're carrying a cross. You're going to fall.
How much have you had to drink?
Not
like
enough.
4 clans right there,
Yeah.
you glutton.
But that's kind of one of the big things for me, is like, yes, the yoke is light in comparison to the rest of the world and the struggles that everybody else might face as not a follower of Jesus. I'm still going to fall. I'm still going to hurt. It's still going to suck sometimes when, that sophomore year time frame that I was in, where we had like everybody die that we loved and cared about, whether family or very close family friends. And it was just kind of one of those things like, this sucks, but I mean, it's not me. I can handle it. I can move on. I can either let this lead me down a dark path, or I can rise above it. And that's kind of why that specific, very, very specific passage without additional context resonates with me. And why I think it should resonate with more people is that life still sucks because it's life. But if you're a follower of Jesus,
you keep serving me up segues. This is great. This is not a segue though. Although I have a C.S. Lewis quote that I had set aside, which speaks just to that. And so this is from Mere Christianity. He says, your real new self, which is Christ's and also yours, and yours just because it is his, it will come when you are looking for him. Give up yourself and you will find your real self. Lose your life and you will save it. Submit to death of your ambitions and your favorite wishes every day, and death of your whole body in the end. Submit with every fiber of your being and you will find eternal life. Keep backing nothing. Nothing that you have not given away will be really yours. Nothing in you that has not died will ever be raised from the dead. Look for yourself, and you will find that in the long run, only hatred, loneliness, despair, rage, ruin, and decay. But look for Christ, and you will find him, and with him, everything else.
Was that just a general quote, or is that like probably Mere Christianity?
It was for him. It was in Mere Christianity. I don't remember what part it was from. Colton, you have anything else?
Sorry, Andy just texted me, so I was texting him back.
What are you talking about? Soccer?
Yeah. Sorry.
Manchester United?
Yep. Sorry. I'm bad.
No, you're fine.
Oh, sorry. I was listening. But I wasn't.
Physically here, mentally.
I have another C.S. Lewis quote then, but I'll read it once Colton's not.
I'm sorry. He sent me a text message. Here you go. Did you want?
What was the text message?
It was a text message of Christian Pulisic in a Manchester United jersey, and he said, "No way." Well, and it was
like an article that somebody, I don't know what source.
So someone stuck him in one AI.
Everybody's been saying that Christian Pulisic's got connections to Manchester United for years.
Oh, you guys
I
would
texted
go
him back and I said,
crazy.
I won't believe it until I buy his jersey with his name on it. So that's
If that happens, then
as soon as he signs with them, 100% I'm buying that jersey. But I've been rooting for Christian Pulisic to go over there since he played at Chelsea. So
I don't know why. I don't know why a team like United hasn't done that anyway. Just sell more jerseys, because at this point they just seem to have settled into being a.
Hey man, we're third on the table. So
I know, yeah, but you
we
guys
beat
are
Liverpool
still
this last weekend.
huh?
So I said we beat Liverpool this last weekend. First time we beat Liverpool twice in one season in 10 years.
Well, I was really happy because Eric was over at my house this weekend, and I played him in fantasy. And I've had a dreadful 3 months, and I think I had a week where I put up 36 points, but scored 120 this week. And Eric thought for sure he was going to win, and he lost.
Heyo.
Because my team's finally healthy for the first time since I think December. All my stars are back.
I haven't even looked at mine, honestly.
All right, I got another quote from Mere Christianity. For mere improvement is not redemption, though redemption always improves people even here and now, and will, in the end, improve them to a degree we cannot yet imagine. God became man to turn creatures into sons, not simply to produce better men of the kind, but to produce a new kind of man. Yeah, and that's 100%. I mean, he's indirectly quoting, Jesus, where Jesus is talking about I'm the new Adam, and then that's Jesus laying that down as a connection to Adam, but also laying down through me, you're going to be you too are going to be the new in the way that Adam and Eve were supposed to be when they were created, whether literally or figuratively, living out their life in the way God intended. Where I have provided to you everything, there's nothing you don't need, and so therefore, don't pursue anything outside of what I have given you to sustain you. So, anything else?
I don't think so. I think I think that if you're listening to this podcast for tonight, I think that this has probably been the healthiest conversation I've had around fruits of the Spirit in a long time. And that's not to toot our own horn or anything, but I do think that there are a lot of pressures that surround the fruits of the Spirit that people necessarily feel that fruits of the Spirit get neglected often, but then people and this is why it kind of fits within the Christianese context, is because people just throw it out there flippantly and they're just like, yeah, this is what you should be, blah, blah, blah. And we don't get to have an honest, real conversation about what does that look like. And we're not necessarily focusing on what does love look like? What does gentleness look like? What does kindness look like? We're not doing that. Instead, what we're saying is that what these look like. And this is something that should be self-evaluative, to where you are going to sit there and look at yourself and say, this is what I want moving forward for my life, for what I want to display to other people. And yeah, I do think that you need to pray for it. But I hope that when you pray for it, and again, please don't pray for patience for your own sake, but you do pray for God's will to be done in your life, and that will then help you bear fruit. And again, God's will, we're not talking within the context of predestination. We're talking about within the context of truly, what does God want me to do with my life, and not in the context of, because this is the hard part, right? Like, people think that when I say that, you're like, I'm going to pray, and so therefore God's going to tell me what I'm supposed to do with my career, what I'm supposed to do with my marriage, what I'm supposed to do with my whatever. Fuck all that noise. God doesn't give a damn. I know that seems crazy, but what God is actually doing is saying, like, I can use you with whoever. I can use you whenever, whatever job you choose, whatever path that interests you. I can absolutely use you within that context. What I'm asking you to pray for is God's will in your life is that you show kindness to others, that you show love to others, every possibility chance that you get. It's not about what it is. It's not about being in the perfect place at the perfect time, getting married to the right person, because oh my gosh, have I heard so many divorce stories or people that have stuck through marriages because they're like, this is the person that God set in my life and therefore I'm supposed to stick with them or whatever. And it's like, God can use you with whoever, whenever. Don't just sit there and hold on to this. It's the idea of, when this opportunity shows up, am I going to do what God would have done in this instance? And that's God's will for your life. And therefore you will show these fruit. Agreed?
Yes.
I 100% agree. I had one of the supervisors at my agency. He's gotten very much more involved with the church lately. He went through a very unfortunate time where his stepson riding a motorcycle took a turn, the proper term is failed to negotiate the turn, but realistically, he was driving a motorcycle way too fast. He missed the stop sign. He unfortunately ended up passing away. But instead of doing what I've seen a lot of cops do in that situation, which is, I'm just going to go out drinking every day. He got way into church. And he was one of the guys that was like, as soon as somebody interrupted him one time, he's like, man, no, fuck you. This is my scene. And nowadays it takes a lot for somebody to get him there. And I genuinely think that's because he took a bad time in his life and he said, I can let this instance of falling away from God in this dark time affect me in the way that it's affected so many people, or I can take it and turn it into a net positive. And he turned it into a net positive. And it's part of the reason I really respect that guy. Part of the reason I'm excited to go to a mid-shift, because I get to work with him sometimes again. And, even before me and Maddie both actually got back into church, I was like, hey, where are you going to church this Sunday? I want to go just hang out because I haven't been to church in a while. And I went to church and, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot. I feel good when I'm at church, because it's to use Hume Lake and Pine. What's the other one? Sugar Pine. To use Hume Lake and Sugar Pine knowledge. I was at church every Sunday, depending on who you are, is that mountaintop experience. You get reconnected, you get revitalized. You're like, oh my God, I'm around all these people that go to church.
This is the sugar high.
And yeah, exactly that.
It's just
the
sugar pine high.
The sugar pine, sugar high. You can't ride in the big cow wagon, but yeah, but I respected him so much, and I wanted to get back into church because of him. And then Maddie had all of her issues coming up with cancer and everything, which she beat, by the way, in case any of you don't know that. She beat it, and she's a bad bitch for it. Now we're thinking about getting tattoos with the pink ribbon on her middle fingers.
Oh, bad bitch.
Yeah.
Bad bitch on the ribbon.
And after all that,
bold.
the blessings that we had even through that, getting a child that started sleeping all the way through the night at a month, we have talked to so many people that are like, oh, my kid didn't start doing that till last week, and he's fucking 3. And we're like, you know what? We need to see these blessings that we're being given, and we need to go hardcore for them.
Look, you mentioned, and we've talked about youth camp before. That's the illustration. The perfect illustration of the Christian sugar high. And don't get me wrong, I grew up in a Pentecostal family where I had grandfathers who did tent
every Sunday morning is a sugar pine high.
Well, that's what I'm
every Sunday morning is a rendition of Rap God.
The greatest man I've ever known is my grandfather on my mom's side. Just the walking embodiment of the fruits of the Spirit. But that said, much of his ministry life was doing tent revivals and stuff like that. And, with all due respect, those things are great. They are what they are, but a lot of that's just sugar high. And the story you told about your lieutenant, sorry, it's the nature of our fallen world and how faith works. That's really where the transformation happens. That's also illustrative of It's the Spirit doing the work. But if what you've taken away from our discussion is that you're going to sit back and let the Spirit do the work, that's not what this is. You have to be actively engaged. And then when you find yourself, I'm not getting prone to getting frustrated with people at work anymore. That's not the moment of like, oh, look at me. That's the moment to go like, thank you, Holy Spirit. Thank you, Jesus. And honestly, if this is really transforming, you won't even think that way. Like, you won't notice it. You'll just like, that's another reason why, honestly, it's good to be in community. Community often isn't someone pointing something out. It's someone saying like, I noticed that you've been like, you seem like you're more at peace with everything. And like, you're exhibiting like you're just okay with things. And, you always seem like you were depressed your wife talked about how you, or your husband talked about how you would get really frustrated with things. And like, oh, I don't even notice it. And those are just moments, just like reflect and be thankful and be like, okay, then I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Yes, there is a requirement to do work. You're not being saved by your work, but there is requirement to be prepared and lay the groundwork, be the tree, be the branch that the Holy Spirit can grow and bear fruit in.
Yep.
And if you don't, then you're just going to sit there and you're going to be like, why aren't I changing? Well, because you're sitting there thinking that the like you said, the magic prayer is going to work. Like, just make me more joyful. There's not going to be this thing where you just like, it comes over you, you'll be like, oh, I feel joy in everything. And I'm in harmony with the universe and everything that God created. No, it's a process. And it probably, like I said, is going to require some pruning where you get really tested and you get tested, or there's a reality of check of, no, I really do need to follow Jesus. Like, this is a thing, like, I gotten lazy, or I've gotten stagnant, or I'm taking it for granted. Now I really have to do it. And then you're more in tune. And so
I also don't think you should pray for patience, but at the same time, I think the serenity prayer, if either of you've heard of it,
Don't pray for patience.
Don't pray for patience, but the serenity prayer is, I feel like, not an exception to the rule, because it's not directly for patience, but it's God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
That's a patience prayer.
People dying, that's something you can't change. They die. You not liking your job because your boss is a dick, that's something you can change. Either A, go talk to them, and if they don't change, hey, guess what? I have job skills. I can go find another job somewhere else.
Or just decide like, okay, I'm going to get over it and then not care at all.
Or exactly that.
Well, all right, then I'll just decide what's more important, which is being able to live where I want to live with my family.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like reprioritizing what's important.
Don't pray for patience.
That's going to be the title of this episode.
Yeah.
Patience.
That's
not even.
It's not even up for debate.
I don't think there's anything else.
Well, there's
we
nothing
good?
else. I guess it's don't pray for patience, or you can go to hell.
Well, I don't think we're quite there. We got our second beer of the week. We got to do.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot. Here I am being
fucking moron, golly.
This is why I run the show, not you. You tried to be moderator, and this is what it got you.
Yeah, you're on your third show ever, and you're out here fucking place tell people to go to hell. What the fuck? Yeah, I'm drinking the Almanac Pond Farm Brewing Company collab Amarillo Rye Way West Coast IPA. Apparently, I've had it before. It was pretty good tonight. So
that's the one. It says rye, but there's nothing in it about taste rye. I don't know where the rye comes in, but it's fantastic. I really like that one. Very drinkable. Go ahead, Jeff.
I had
everything tonight is leftovers.
Yeah.
And I had the Cheers to Collab Beers, Coronado Brewing Company and El Segundo Brewing Company, a freestyle West Coast IPA. I'm not as palatized as the other two here, but it was very citrusy, very nice. For a 6.7, apparently it was drinking more like a 10, just like the other one I drank the other day, because I was dropping cans all over the place.
And then I'm drinking what Colton had first, the Stone Enjoy by 126. Still pretty good. I would say it's got, I don't know, maybe not. Still drinkable. 9.4% alcohol. A festively fresh double IPA. Just telling you, Firestone, you better keep brewing this. Otherwise, I'm going to be pissed.
I'll fucking riot.
You're going to have to...
You can do away with some of the other with the other stones, as far as I'm concerned.
You better keep making their lagers, their Mexican lagers, and you better keep making their IPAs. So
Stone has Mexican lagers too.
They make a good Mexican lager. It's actually
the two things that they make really fucking well. They make a really good Mexican lager, and they make a really good IPA.
I couldn't tell you which one it was, but
I think that Liberty Pils is fantastic.
Oh, sure. But I'm telling you that consistently what they make on a regular basis, they make really good IPAs, and they make really good Mexican lagers.
I had a conversation.
It's almost like that's the clientele in San Diego.
Well, I brought it up when we were at Firestone last week. I brought it up, and the guy was like, "Oh no, we're all in. We're all Team Firestone." I'm like, "Are you going to keep brewing everything?" He's like, "Yeah, I think that's the plan." I said, "Fear Movie Lions." Now he's like, "Well, I don't know." And I'm like, "Fear Movie Lions, delicious."
The tangerine.
The tangerine. Come on, I can keep the Liberty, and it's like, well, we're looking. I was like, "You better."
We don't have that much space, and you're like, "Well, fuck you then."
Fuck you then.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we thank you for listening to this episode. Oh, R.I.P. my beer refrigerator. Boo.
Boo.
Beer was not as cold tonight. R.I.P. my refrigerator, and patience, you can go to hell.
That's right.
Jeff, you can go to hell too.
Trying to jump
the gun, yeah. This is what I get.